Hey there, this is Whitney from the School of Evolutionary Herbalism, and I am excited to share something new and different with you today. Usually Sage and I are giving, tips and teachings on herbalism for adults, but we get asked a lot about how to kind of extend herbalism to kids and how to start teaching them about how to use medicinal plants. So today I am going to share with you about 4 tips for how to teach your kids about herbs and help them to deepen their connection, as well with some herbs themselves, as well as teaching you about a few of my favorite really simple and easy to use remedies, and how some of these are actually plants that I grew up knowing how to use myself since the time I was a little kid. I recently went back home to visit my family, and I'm really blessed to have grown up in nature and in kind of an unconventional childhood, in that I was out in nature a lot. I had a lot of free time to roam around and forage different plants, and I grew up with some guidance from my mom. Taught me about a few different herbs like plantain here, nettle, some of these different really simple and easy to use herbs. And so I actually grew up with knowing how to identify and use some of the herbs that grew just right around me in my yard or in the woods behind our house, and how that completely shaped who I am today. It's incredible and profound to experience, go out and pick for yourself a plant and to, put it inside your mouth and feel the way that it can heal you or nourish you. I think that's something that a lot of people are lacking in today, is just that simplicity of feeling like, nature is providing, like nature it can take care of you. And simple knowledge like that of how to go out and see what's growing around you and know which edible foods and medicinal plants are there is incredibly empowering. So as a kid, I'm sure you can imagine, I was out, picking all sorts of different things that I knew how to identify, and I knew which was safe and which plants were not safe to eat, and stealing my mom's mortar and pestle from the kitchen and grinding it all up into all sorts of mashes and mushes and making different magical potions. But the cool thing is that I knew how to, it's like if someone had a bee sting or someone got a cut, or, if I fell down and got a cut, I could find plantain growing almost anywhere. And I knew how to chew it up and make a little poultice on the spot and take care of something that could be potentially dangerous. If someone has an allergic reaction to a bee sting, plantain could be something that could seriously help to reduce the histamine response and the swelling and pain and inflammation. So little simple things like that are incredible. To me, growing up as a kid, understanding, getting to experience that and understanding how to use some of those herbs totally shaped the way that I saw the world, and kind of gave me that sense of, interacting with nature. And also probably was a huge part of setting me on my path here to be an herbalist today, because that was something that it came back to, was those connections, that time spent in nature alone or, with my friends, just that deep sense of connection with nature is what I came back to as an adult when I was really looking for my passion and my purpose. That's where I came back to, is to the plants. So don't ever overlook how powerful teaching a young kid about, an edible or wild food or medicinal plant can be, and how much that could impact the course of their lives and empower them and support them. So this is plantain that I was telling you about, a little bit about its properties. And I'll share with you a little bit too about some of these other stories. So, this is kind of bringing me back some of the memories that I was having, going back home and thinking about just how sweet it was to just, be able to run around and my neighbor had a huge patch of peppermint growing in her garden, and we would go over. I remember my friends and my sister and I would go over, and we'd always, go and forage on her, eat on her peppermint plants. So this is another super safe and easy to recognize herb, and it tastes amazing. So that's one thing, obviously, with kids is compliance, getting them to So there are a lot of herbs that don't actually taste very great. And so some of those herbs that are really, taste really wonderful can open up their excitement to try something new. And also the experience of getting to smell these herbs. So peppermint is another one that is just so wonderful for any upset stomachs. That warming carminative action. The carminative is what we would call that warming action to the digestive system. And these aromatic plants can actually bring more circulation and help to the digestive system, help to relieve any bloating or gas. So this is another wonderful, simple herb. And just simple, like a little tea is just an awesome way to get to use this. And what else do I have here? Lemon balm. This is another one that's in the mint family, so related to all the other peppermints. This one I have it's growing all over here in our little garden. And I've never met a kid that doesn't love lemon balm. There's something so sweet about it, and something that kids can relate to, that just calming, cooling property, and it has such a enticing smell and flavor, which is again something that is key to kids. They're so in their sensory bodies, so having something that they can relate to through the smell and the feeling, the softness of the leaves, and the lemony aroma and flavor is just so awesome. And this is one I've used with kids. So actually, before I started this business with Seja, teaching about herbalism and making herbal products, I was a nanny, and so I spent a lot of time with kids and had the blessing of getting to work with a Waldorf family that used Waldorf teachings and techniques with their kids too, which is really nature-based system of education. And lemon balm is one that I got to use for fever. So any of that, when you see that kind of like hot and red, kind of red cheeks and irritated fever, where there's just kind of that tension too and irritability that you see in the little kid, this one is so safe and nice and calming. It's a nervine and has those nervine properties to help soothe and calm the nervous system, as well as any digestive upset too. So this is another one. Those aromatic essential oils that are in this herb will help to calm and soothe the digestive system. So any, again, upset tummies or fevers, this is another great one. Or just a sweet herb for making a tea to help them to calm down, and great one before bedtime as well. And this is just, again, one that's so easy to identify and use. So lemon balm, Melissa officinalis is a great one. And I grew up harvesting these stinging nettles outside my house when I was a little kid, and the joy of feeling like I remember my brother and sister and I and some of the other neighbor kids all going out. I remember I have this distinct memory of this one time being, all of us going out with our mom's dish gloves and, some paper bags, and just harvesting all of these nettles, and the excitement of bringing something home for mom that she was going to cook dinner with the nettles. And it's like probably a lot of kids don't actually like the taste of spinach or a lot of greens, and that's, nettle is just another amazing green. When you cook it, can taste a lot like spinach, but the excitement of going out and picking something myself, and the pride that I felt in, going out and harvesting, it was like the most exciting meal of my life, I remember that first time going out. And so that feeling of empowerment that kids feel from having, being able to go out and, gather something from nature themselves and connect with it in that way, and, help to prepare a meal themselves is just so incredible. And I mean, I feel like that's one of the things that most kids want, is they want to be participating in a part of things. And so if you can have that feeling of, giving them something to do and something that they feel a part of is really empowering. So that is one herb that also is fabulous. So as far as the nettles and its medicine, I mean, this is an incredible nutritive herb. And you think about when kids are growing so much, and what do they need? They need a ton of minerals. They're growing all these bones and connective tissue and everything. And nettle is incredibly high in silica and calcium, tons of vitamins and trace minerals, you know, which is a key thing that a lot of our farmed foods are missing. Some of these trace minerals and nutrients that you would find in wildcrafted nettles that are grown in the forest or areas that are more pristine, that have a wider spectrum of minerals that are so essential and important to our growth. So this is definitely an herb that is key, that could just be a great nutritive tonic in a tea, or also one of my favorite ways to prepare it is to also put it in soups, and it cooks down and can be like this delicious soup included in broths, or like a chicken nettle soup instead of chicken noodle soup. That is another wonderful healing, nourishing remedy that I absolutely love. Another thing that is also its affinity for the urinary tract, and that's another thing of every once in a while kids and adults might get a urinary tract infection. This is another herb that I remember my little sister had a UTI one time, and using this was one thing that that my mom gave her, some nettle tea, so also for helping to clear out any heat and irritation and infection, and so that's a great diuretic herb. So there's so many, and everyone loves dandelions too. I mean, I don't know if I grew up making a million of these little dandelion crowns, but this is the flowers are edible, and just, you know, the bitter taste is something a lot of kids aren't necessarily into, but you can chop up the leaves really fine and include that, you know, in a salad. And there are ways to prepare, you know, the flowers aren't as bitter as the leaves are, but there are ways to incorporate and use dandelions as well that are tasty. So it's another awesome nutritive tonic. But these herbs, just wanted to share a little bit about how you can use these guys, and how simple they are, and how, you know, when you get kids started out young with learning how to differentiate between what different plants look like and smell like and taste like and feel like, that can really empower them to be able to see the differences between different plants and learn how to identify them themselves. And this, I feel like, is a key. It's like kind of an ancient, essential skill to being human that somehow just more recently in history we've lost. You know, foraging wild foods and folk medicine, these simple folk remedies of how to use some of these different herbs are so timeless, and, you know, probably your grandma or great grandma knew how to use some of these basic herbs. And so this is something that I feel like we need a revival of, teaching our kids about how to use some basic herbs, as not only to empower your family and get them started out young with teaching them about, you know, how to take care of themselves and how to participate in life and nature. And, you know, there's something incredible about going out and finding a remedy that can heal the thing that you're going through. It's like this whole world opens up of this belief and knowing that Mother Earth and Mother Nature can provide, that there's a medicine, that there's a remedy for everything. And that is a key perspective that we're really needing in this world at this time, as we've gone through so much disconnection with nature, to the point where there's even such a thing as nature deficit disorder in our culture. This is a term that actually exists, or maybe a medical or psychological, you know, terminology it's kind of scary that we've gotten to that point. And when I see, you know, some of my nephews and nieces and, you know, little kids and my family that are like glued to their screens and their phones, you know, from the time they're really tiny, there's a whole disconnect there that is kind of frightening if you look at, they're not participating, engaging with the whole rest of the world as far as what's right in front of them. So the more that we can empower and educate kids around how to use plants is one amazing way that they can connect in with the larger sense of the world around them and feel that safety and connection to nature that nature's providing for them and taking care of them. So here are some 4 just simple keys, different tips for how you can bridge that gap and start teaching your kids about herbs. It doesn't even have to be your kids, but just even if you're an aunt or an uncle, or if you are a grandparent, or just a mentor or somebody, these are important things to start sharing and teaching the kids around you. So one simple way to deepen your kids' connection with nature is to grow something and have them grow something. So this is something that is incredibly empowering, is to be able to help them to plant something, a seed, and be able to water it and watch it grow, and to take that responsibility, for them to have that responsibility of, this is something that I'm responsible for taking care of. It's amazing the miracle that unfolds before your eyes if you just watch it, the simplicity and yet miraculous process that's happening before you of watching a seed germinate and sprout from the first little leaves that pop up out of the soil, and to then watch the plant grow and eventually become this beautiful plant. Maybe it's a food plant that you then they could eat and get to experience eating the food that they grew, or a medicinal plant that they could then make a tea out of, or interact with in that way. So building that pride and that confidence, and also that responsibility that they're a part of this earth, that they're a part of this life, that they have something to take care of and tend to, is that in itself is a revolutionary way of, it's ancient and so essential to being human, but it's also something that right now in our culture is so lacking. So just that simple way of just growing something is a key that can empower and just encourage your kids and give them a sense of pride and joy. The second tip for teaching your kids about herbs, and this is how to identify and use some of the plants that are just growing right in your yard. So like I was mentioning, dandelions, it's like, oh my gosh, who doesn't have dandelions popping up in their yard? Or this plantain, there are just simple ways to see. I remember learning how to identify plantain. It's like you can feel the ribbed leaves and see that there's the little hairs that poke out of the stem there. And so the things like that. And if you don't even know yourself, if you're not really sure how to identify and use the plants around you, this is an awesome opportunity to learn. So both of you and the kids around you, that you guys can also learn together and build your confidence with starting out with really safe, easy to recognize herbs, getting some good resources for how to identify those plants to get started, and then start building that confidence and being able to use the plants around you. And the third tip as well that I would recommend is preparing medicine together. So if you're an herbalist and maybe you've already have, some tinctures or some syrups or teas or things that you already have prepared, and you might be used to giving them to your kids if they get sick or have different ailments, but really to empower them and get them really excited and involved in the process is to have them make the medicine together with you. So this is something that you could go out, if you're going out picking elderberries, or putting up some syrup for the winters, to educate them around, hey, we're going to use this, if we end up getting the cold or flu, we'll be able to use this elderberry syrup. And again, it builds that confidence and connection with the medicine that they're taking, that they're not just a patient, but that they can become a healer for themselves as well, and to be able to help out the people in their family or their friends. This is something that as soon as you start learning about these things, you automatically want to start helping people, and you feel, useful as you're empowered with this type of knowledge. So I remember, like one time I had a client that brought her little kid to see me one time. They were both sick, and I thought, instead of just compounding a formula for them or whatever, let's go out together and we'll go out and pick the plants. Let's look at what's growing around us and let's make a tea for you. They both had a fever, and so went out and harvested the lemon balm that was growing and in season, and went and found elderflower that's growing here on our land, and they got to go home, and just seeing the little kids so excited about going home with all of this medicine that she helped to participate in and harvest herself. It was just so exciting and empowering. Again, it's that feeling that they're participating in nature, that they're a part of nature, and that they're a part of their own healing process, and that there's medicine around, and that they can prepare things to take care of themselves. And that's a skill that can be with you for the rest of your life. I remember some of the things my mom taught me about how to make a poultice. It was like that was with me, as a teenager. I started going out and harvesting comfrey, and after I had an injury and a skateboarding accident and, tore some ligaments in my shoulder, I was going out finding comfrey and making poultices for my shoulder for that healing. And so that got me so excited about herbalism, and it was also a skill that was with me, again, for the rest of my life, that I know how to take care of myself. And the fourth thing that I would definitely recommend as well is to read nature-based stories together. And this is something that just the simple beauty of getting to hear stories read to you, and to get to have that connection through story and learning through story is such an ancient thing. It hits this deep part of our memory of learning through the archetypes that are within a story, and learning a part of how the world works, and how you can overcome challenges, and how you can become a better person. So story is incredible, but specifically stories that highlight and emulate the intelligence of nature and the wisdom of nature. And that's something that, again, is really lacking in our culture, is that sense that nature is alive, that nature is intelligent. And so those stories that are magical, all of those can help to build a sense that there's more to this world than just, the world that we live in. So that will always be with you. Those magical stories and that connection to the magical world can impart I feel like more confidence in an adult who has grown up in that way, and more trust in life, and that those stories influence you and your ability to know that things are going to work out, and have a greater trust in something beyond our ability to understand. So that's where those magical stories are really profound and beautiful. So those are also ways that you can be teaching and sharing wisdom with your kids about herbs that are also fun, and ways that you can be doing it together. If you're looking for a way that is more of a system that is put together for you, I have friends who have just put together a whole course that's like a 13-book series all about herbs and fairies. And even though we're really passionate about, teaching herbs to kids, we haven't created a course for kids yet with herbalism. And it's something maybe we'll do at some point, but right now they have a course that's open for this week only called Herb Fairies. It's from Learning Herbs. And John has been a friend of ours for a long time, and just really love and appreciate all of the work he does. And seeing how he and Kimberly raised their kids with growing up learning how to make all of these things is so incredible. So this whole system is like 13 books of stories about different herbs. So they have a whole story about chickweed and the fairy chickweed, and about how the world of herbs is being kind of the world of magic is being lost at this time. And so this adventure story of different kids going and discovering the healing powers of plants. And so it's an amazing story, and all the different stories connect together, but it's an amazing way to learn through story and through having fun and through educating and empowering your kids. So I really wanted to share that with you today as well, because that's a system that you can use, that you can get started now with, and you can be connected to a whole bunch of other parents and other kids with all sorts of resources for teaching parents how to, or grandparents, or whatever, adults or mentors, teaching them how to identify and use herbs, and then how to then teach their kids about them as well. So that, we'll put the link below here in this post, so you can check that out as well. And they're giving away the first book all about the herb fairy stellaria, chickweed. That one is for free right now, that you can download through this link that we have here. So I just encourage you to get out there and to educate and share your, different herbal knowledge with your kids, and get out into your yard and just start it there. See what's growing in your yard right now. You don't have to live someplace, in the wild or in nature, but just starting out with what is right around you is really incredibly enlightening, getting to see the medicine and the wild food and all the resources that nature is providing with abundance right here in front of you. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and just hearing a little bit about the story of my life and how I grew up. And it was really sweet just reminiscing and remembering all of, how some of these plants are really special to me, that they've been with me throughout my life and have become really strong allies and have helped me through a lot of different healing. And so I really hope that you can also be there for kids in your life and get to share something beautiful with them and empower them to, take care of their health and take care of their lives and take care of this Mother Earth, because that's what it's really all about, is sharing and empowering all this wisdom and keeping it going so the future generations have a way to connect with nature and a way to be healed by nature. So I'd love to hear from you if you have any experience working with kids, and how you get them excited about participating, being a part of nature. How have you used different remedies? What are your favorite herbal remedies that you use with kids? And just love to hear your story. So please share in the comments below, and if you want to share this with other friends of yours that are also interested in herbs for kids, share this video. And also the Herb Fairies course is another one that's an amazing resource. So thanks so much. Take care and be well.